Hello and welcome to TableTalk Friday, your weekly dose of D&D banter between three lads in a bedroom. If you like their style, make sure to follow them on whichever podcast service you prefer, and come back every Friday for another upload. Now, back to the boys.
You know, I've never been the kind of person to correct the spelling of my name. I really don't care. But I appreciate it when you tell people for me. You know, like my mom.
Yeah, exactly. Or like, what was I gonna say? Oh, it's like whenever Patrick tells someone like, "Oh, I don't like being called Pat," and I go, "Shit, I've been calling Patrick Pat since I know him," and he goes, "No, you're good, Seth," and I go, "What? Why? Why?"
That's crazy. Patrick has never told me that because I always call him Pat.
He brings that up to like especially new people. He'll be like, "No, not Pat," and he did that so much in college, and I was like, "Well, Pat, that's all I call you," and he goes, "No, you're good." And I was like, "What the fuck?" I was like, "You can tell me no, like you can say that you're just like that you don't want to be called that," but I guess he's okay with it.
I will say, sometimes certain nicknames fit with certain people. Like, my whole life, I've always hated Andy. Mm-hmm. It's made me so angry, I've almost gotten fist fights over it in high school. But when Dear Eric comes over, calls me Andy, it's totally fine.
That's so weird.
It is. I think it's just a certain vibe check that you get from people, you know? Maybe if you know someone long enough or you know them intimately enough, it's okay if they call you a certain thing.
See, we haven't told this story on the podcast before, but I don't know, Drew always felt right. So whenever we were at freshman retreat, our college did these like little retreats where we had to go camping in the woods with all the new freshmen because that's cool.
It was not cool.
I actually had a blast, but that's not important. That is where I met Drew for the first time, and he goes, "Yeah, you can call me like whatever you want, just not Andy. It can be Drew, or it can be Drew. It can be AJ. It can be Russ." I don't know where Russ came from, but he said that. And I said, "Drew sounds good, only one syllable." And then from then on, everyone in college called him Drew.
That's it. That's the whole story.
That's literally it. It was the entire thing, because I was like, "Oh, well, yeah, you're right. Andy sounds bad. AJ, 2 syllables. And
no,
Russ,
right.
no. Like, that makes no sense to me."
Has anyone ever called you AJ?
My entire blood family.
That
Nuh-uh.
is ridiculous.
Yep. I didn't know that.
That is entirely ridiculous.
I didn't know that.
I refuse.
So it's always been AJ with my immediate family or like my distant family that I see once every 5 years. That kind of vibe. Anyone else that calls me AJ, it's weird.
But you brought it up. That could have been the college name. You could have been AJ your entire college experience. How does that feel? Like, if I had decided AJ was what we were going to call you, that's what it would be.
You know, I feel like AJ's cool. I feel like I could have made it work, but I feel like Drew worked out better in the long run. I like Drew. It's simple.
Yeah, no,
it's easy peasy. I referred to myself as Drew, but I introduced myself as Andrew.
Yeah.
That's confusing. I feel like you should tell people what you want to be called.
It's really fun for me whenever I talk to someone and I introduce myself as Seth. We talk for, a long time, like a year or two, and I go, "By the way, first name, Matthew." And then they're like, "Whoa, what?"
Whoa.
No, they're like, "You've been lying this whole time?"
Right. Like, I could have called you Matt if you didn't say, "Hey, call me Seth. My name is Seth."
Yeah. I mean, well, you also didn't look at my driver's license and see that it says Matthew on it. I said, "Yeah, I'm Seth. Nice to meet you."
No, actually, when I met you, I pickpocketed you, pulled out your wallet, pulled out your driver's license.
That's where my first student ID went.
It was all me, baby.
So much about Zach today. His name's spelled differently. He's actually deaf. He's actually a robber.
You didn't know the C thing?
No, I
The
didn't.
C thing?
I did. I was doing it. It was a bit for the audience.
Okay, sorry, audience Herrick's.
But now you folks at home know. Anyways, today on Table Talk Friday, we are talking about the fighter class.
Woo! Well, what can I say about the fighter, as I have only made fighters as NPCs and never actually... No, I played one in a one-off one time when we were after some wolves or something like that. Werewolves, was it?
Yep. It was a little cabin in the middle of the woods. I believe you were like on a trade road or whatever, but you had to stop there. It was a little inn, and there were werewolves and maybe a hag.
And I believe I played Erwin Fazalar,
That's a good name.
High Elven Gladiator Fighter. Yeah, I was a martial whatever it's called.
Was Gladiator
Battlemaster?
The
UA?
Battle Master. Yeah, I was a Battle Master fighter.
Oh, okay.
And I was
Gladiator background.
yeah, gladiator background.
Gotcha. Okay. I feel like I'm kind of surprised there's not a fighter subclass called Gladiator. I feel like that would be one of the go-to, no?
Well, they already put it in the player's handbook as a background, so that'd be awkward.
Yeah.
Okay.
But gladiator would be pretty cool. Like just some very like showmanship type abilities. I feel like that's a bard subclass.
Yeah, I feel like the Oath of Glory Paladin is kind of a gladiator in a way. Like the way they flavor it.
Really, any melee fighter is can be a gladiator because that's all they have to do is be good at fighting and show off.
Yeah, and so I think that touches, just to discuss the fighter specifically, I feel like more than any other class, you can't really pin them down into one thing. Like in doing my research for this episode, I was trying to think, what are like some good examples in pop culture of the D&D fighter? And there's not many.
I haven't thought about that at all.
Like, if you think of the fighter in D&D, they make melee weapon attacks, but they use, like, swords, axes. They could use a bow and arrow, but it's all, just very specifically, this is the thing that I do. This is what makes the fighter the fighter. If there's any other flavor to it, it's because of their subclass.
But like Jon Snow, Game of Thrones, I guess he could be a fighter.
Yeah, exactly. So when I was thinking of it, it was pretty much all the males in Game of Thrones.
Yes.
Yeah, you could argue most of the males in Lord of the Rings would be fighters, but a lot of them could also be rangers, so I don't know. Gimli's a fighter, I know that for sure, but Aragorn's probably a ranger.
There's some female fighters in Game of Thrones too. What's the name of the girl in love with Jamie?
Brienne of Tarth?
Yeah, Brienne of Tarth.
My favorite character
she's
in
great.
Game of Thrones.
I can't believe I forgot her name because she was great.
Yeah.
But like she's definitely a fighter.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Probably a champion fighter too.
Yeah.
Probably.
Well, either
Maybe
that
a
or
battle master?
no, she's a cavalier in my mind.
Oh, that would be cool.
We just like harmonized.
It's
That was
pretty
kinda cute.
impressive.
Yeah,
I
that was
like
good.
that.
That was good. It was the whole Drew thing. That's what made it work.
Yes.
See, if my name was AJ, I couldn't have done that.
Couldn't have done it at all.
No way.
Now, if you want to talk about battle master fighters, though, I think Bronn, whatever his last
So,
name.
Zach, why don't you start us off with what exactly a fighter is? Like, start us off from the bare bones.
Sure. So a fighter, this is one of the legacy classes that has survived all the way through the earliest editions of D&D. If you think about a fighter, probably the most typical archetype would be a knight in shining armor with a sword, but with no magical abilities whatsoever. There are some subclasses that can sort of get you there in 5e, and we'll definitely talk about them as we go through this episode. But basically, what makes the fighter a fighter? They have access to all armor and all weapons, and you get to choose what you do from that whole smorgasbord list. And that's pretty much your main options as a fighter. At first level, you get a fighting style that you can choose. So you specialize in archery or defense or protection or great weapons or dueling and a few other options as well. And then you pretty much go down that archetype of, okay, I'm going to be up in the front lines or maybe an archer, and I'm going to be doing damage with weapons and not magic, typically, but not always.
Yeah, I have never gelled quite well with the strict melee classes, barbarian, fighter, things like that. But I do have to agree with what you said a little bit earlier in that you can specialize a fighter better than you can specialize any other classes. Given the fact that you can have your wizard, they're going to be casting spells, and you can change their specialties between support spells and damage spells and whatnot. But whatever weapons you choose to go with for your fighter is that's who they are. That's how they feel. You have access to heavy armor at all times, but if you're a dex fighter, you might want to go with some light armor, something a little bit lighter, pick up a set of short swords or rapiers or something like that, and you're going all in on that. While likewise, your build could be fully con and strength, high health, low intelligence fighter, and I wield a big hammer.
My ideal fighter.
Well, and you play them well.
Yep.
I think I would have to say the fighter might be the most difficult to flavor in a sense that it's purely aesthetic based.
It's
in
all
a
flavor
sense.
based.
When I think of casters, you can kind of say what your spell does, or if you're a barbarian, you can rage out and smash something. But as a fighter, you really have to. I guess maybe it compares to a monk as well. You really have to think about how you're fighting. How are you swinging those great axes? How are you throwing your hand axes? What's the arc that you're throwing your daggers at? How are they piercing your enemies? Kind of a vibe,
Right, yeah, absolutely. And I think one of my biggest issues with the fighter and all of its subclasses is they really got it right with the Battlemaster. So I want to talk about that up front. The Battlemaster fighter is basically a master of fighting, sort of just like a martial genius who has honed their mind towards their craft. They've perfected their body into a perfect fighting machine, and they've got all sorts of knacks and special abilities that they can use in the middle of combat. They call them maneuvers, and that essentially allows them to control the battlefield, and it gives them a lot of options like a mage, but in a martial way, which is just so cool. And so my whole issue with the fact that the Battlemaster is so good is you could flavor any fighter as a Battlemaster, and it's probably as good as the subclass available. So, especially in Xanathar's, they added the Samurai and the Cavalier, also the Arcane Archer, which is a little bit different, but also lacks some oomph, in my opinion. But when you think about a fighter, a samurai who's honed their mind and honed their blade, that is just perfectly encapsulated in, all right, be a Battlemaster.
Right.
And know your enemy and get these special maneuvers that you add on top of it. One of my favorite
because the
features,
maneuvers are kind of like the meta magic of a melee class.
Yeah,
where it's
absolutely.
Like, okay, well, I want to be a melee sorcerer. Okay, well, then you're the Battlemaster. You got access to these couple of little abilities that you get to choose. Add extra damage, take away some damage, up your AC, things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And so more than just the maneuvers of the Battlemaster, and we'll get into some of those in a second, I'm sure. But what I really love about this subclass of the fighter is just the flavor of it. So they're a student of war. You get proficiency in an artisan tool of your choice, which really just says a lot about, okay, I'm a thoughtful individual outside of battle as well. Either I'm a cartographer and I take note of all the battles that I've been in and mark them off on my map, or I'm a calligrapher or a painter, and I hone my my hands and my mind to think about just very specific, thoughtful things. So when I'm in the middle of combat, I've got this sort of zen flow about me, and just to free me up. But my favorite feature is the Know Your Enemy feature, which, starting at 7th level, if you spend at least 1 minute observing or interacting with another creature outside of combat, you can learn certain information about its capabilities compared to your own, which is just so cool. What this makes me think of is, you think of any anime, right? We're in the tournament arc, and Goku's sitting on the sidelines, and he's watching, the biggest, baddest guy fight his opponent in the ring, and he's thinking, all right, I see what he's doing, I see his techniques, I know what he can do. And just like having that ability to, in character, say, all right,
Zach almost dropping a book.
Classic Zach. Rogar analyzes the battlefield ahead of him, and he, before he even engages with his enemy, he's thought about, all right, that guy's got about a couple levels of fighter on me. He's a little bit stronger, but I think I'm smarter, and I'm definitely faster. So that's the sort of just the sort of flavor that I really, really like about the Battlemaster.
Now, I agree. Battlemaster's cool as hell. They have so many cool. I still think that the maneuvers are some of the most fun things to play around with as a melee fighter, because you can do anything from like switching places with someone to protect them to like parrying and riposting attacks. So someone misses an attack on you, you use your reaction, you attack right back. Something like that. Those are super cool. But I want to back it up a little bit, because I want to take a look at what we get starting off as a fighter. For instance, a fighting style. because you're choosing your weapon you're going to be using for quite a while right at the beginning. I mean, obviously you can switch out weapons whenever you want. Like you can go buy some from a store. But starting at the beginning of the game, you're going to get to choose at level 1 a fighting style. Now, the ones in the player's handbook consist of the archery fighting style, the defense one, the dueling fighting style, great weapon fighting, protection, and 2-weapon fighting. And then we got a couple added into Tasha's. Zach, would you mind finding those for me?
Yeah, so the additional fighting style options, and fighters get access to most of these additional options that they've added in Tasha's. There are a couple class-specific ones for the Paladin and Ranger as well. But blind fighting, this one is super cool. You get blind sight out to 10 feet, meaning that you can see or, perceive invisible things around you, or even if you're in pitch blackness, you just sort of have a vibe of the area around you, and you don't have disadvantage on your
If you've
attacks.
watched Hunter x Hunter, this is like their N feature. They have a little aura around them. They can tell whenever someone's within range.
Yeah, or it's your spider sense.
Or your spider sense. That works too.
There's interception, which is sort of like protection. It just reduces damage to a target next to you.
Super cool.
Superior technique, you learn a maneuver from the Battlemaster archetype, and your superiority die for that is
And
a
I
D6.
think they put something like that in there just to make up for the fact, like, oh, well, if you want one of these other subclasses and you still want to have those cool maneuvers, now they're available to you.
Yeah, and that's super awesome with the champion, which we'll get into later, because they do get an additional fighting style.
Right.
So you can take that later if you want.
Oh, I didn't know they got 2 fighting styles.
Yeah, well, at 10th level they get their second fighting style, which
Yeah.
is
That's
pretty
handy.
cool.
Okay.
Last 2 ones, thrown weapon fighting, which I think is definitely needed to switch up between archery and thrown weapon fighting.
Yeah, and I think we think of those as, like, a lot of times I'll think of either hand axes or daggers for the throw weapons. But, I
Usually
mean,
things we think
also
of.
you could think of it as, like, spears and javelins. Like, it could go farther than that.
I feel like javelins are so underused in D&D. I don't think anyone ever really throws those.
Yeah, well, we got a lot of javelin use in our original campaign we played with, I believe, was it Quinn or Haymog that threw them all the time?
Yeah, that was Haymog's thing, was javelins.
Oh, I remember
Oh,
he
that's
threw.
cool.
He used to throw those things all the time before he died.
Yeah, he only made it to second level, but that was very iconic of Haymog.
Yeah, I remember javelins. You said that they don't get used a lot, and I was like, no, I remember them being used all the time, man.
We're distancing ourselves from javelins. We're in the post-javelin society.
The
I just-
PJS.
Yes.
And then my favorite additional fighting style of all time, I think we've talked about it before, but if not, unarmed fighting, which lets you attack
It lets
with
you be
your
a
fists.
fighter monk.
Yeah, but instead of doing the monk thing where your unarmed damage is based on your dex, it can be either, but most monks would choose dex. This is a strengthy boy.
Yeah.
He's got the unarmed fighting style. You do a D6 if you've got anything in your hands, or if you're completely unarmed, you do a D8 with your punches, which is that's more powerful than a monk at all the way up to, like, what, 9th level, I think?
And this is why we need really cool gauntlets put somewhere in there, like some really cool gauntlets for unarmed fighters. Like, I haven't thought about that as a magic item until just now, but that's what we need. That's what we're missing in our Game Boys.
I feel like gauntlets are really cool. No one ever brings up wraps or like brass knuckles.
Yeah, magical
All
wraps.
really good melee weapons.
Magical wraps would be a cool way to start, and then like find some brass knuckles, and then find gauntlets later. That's cool.
Well, in the Daleth one-off, when we were 17th level, Orin Heaven's Tread did have his Hands of God, which were
right.
they were
That's
basically golden brass knuckles that let you do divine smites with your punches.
Yeah.
Oh, that's sick.
Yeah.
So, other things the base fighter gets that I would say are pretty iconic fighter like abilities. Their second wind. It's basically the only way for the fighter to heal themselves. You take that second wind, but you're going to be adding your, let's see.
I think is it your fighter level plus a D10?
You can use a bonus
That's
action
exactly
to
right.
regain hit points equal to 1d10 plus your fighter level, which at those mid to late levels, you're going to be getting a good pool of hit points back for just a bonus action. That's nice. Added on top of that, the action surge, which is one of the coolest abilities you can get as a fighter. The fact that you basically double your actions for the turn. Say you have extra attack, and then you can attack with your bonus action. You got like 2 short swords on you. You're making like 6 attacks this turn. That's going to be crazy.
Yeah, even some subclasses will give you more attacks.
Yeah.
and then it gets
gosh.
really nuts, yeah.
Yeah, so an action surge can make or break a boss fight. Like, literally.
So speaking of action surge and being able to get those extra attacks with fighters, do we know the max amount of attacks you get as a fighter? Is it 4 or 5? Because I always thought it was 4, but I'm not sure.
It is 4. So you get your regular attack action. At 5th level, you get extra attack. And then, better than any other martial class, at 11th level, you get another extra attack, bringing your total to 3.
Ooh.
And then at 20th level, if you stick it out all the way, you get 1 more extra attack for 4 total attacks, meaning an action surge of 8 attacks at base.
Yep. And that's
gotta
not
be
including
difficult.
if you get other attacks, if you've got bonus action attacks, if you've got some other things you can do.
Jeez.
Yeah, you get hasted, get another
Yeah,
attack.
there you go.
in
That's-
there.
You
There's
need
9.
more attacks at that point.
Yep. So, yeah, fighters can get pretty nutty.
Yeah, absolutely. Action Surge is one of those fantastic class features that, honestly, just a pro tip for building your characters. If you're going to multi-class in your campaign, Fighter is one of the best multi-class.
I was literally going to say, like, for the rogues, cutting action is the same thing for the fighters' action surge and second wind features, and like a fighting style too. Like, if you're going to dip into rogue, like, fighter's also equally good in that way, because I think rogue is one of the best multi-classes in that way.
Yeah, I think a rogue fighter would probably be the most powerful. Like, take 5 levels of fighter just for 1 extra attack, but you got your feat, you got your subclass, battle master, of course, and then, you get your action surge, and then on top of that, you've got your however many D6 sneak attack every turn, and then, crazy bonkers stuff like cutting action, aim.
See, and you're saying battle master, of course, but if you went champion, you get, increased crits. As a rogue is pretty insane.
Yeah, if you go assassin, you get your surprise attack. That's a automatic crit too.
Ooh.
So, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of good options for that multi-class.
Now, for champion fighters, we talked about them having the ability to crit with lower. Can they crit on a 17 as well?
Way later.
Way later?
No, it's
never.
18, 19,
Yep.
and 20.
Correct. Yep.
That's insane.
I was thinking, yeah, there's 3 numbers, so 17, but I forgot about 20.
The most important number.
Yeah, so on 18, 19, and 20, the champions can crit later. At the beginning, it's just 19 and 20.
Which is still pretty good. That's a 10% chance every time you attack to get a crit.
I guess while we're on it, we'll talk about champion. There are 3 fighter subclasses in the player's handbook: the champion, the battle master, and the eldritch knight. The champion is kind of your knight in shining armor. Is I would say before there was a cavalier subclass, I would say you could very much use them as a cavalier style character. Whereas they get an improved critical. They crit on 19 and 20, so, that's a 10% chance every time you roll a die that you're going to get a crit. Pretty nice. On top of that, let's see, they get remarkable athlete. Starting at 7th level, they can add their proficiency bonus to any strength, dexterity, or constitution check that doesn't already use the proficiency bonus.
It's half their proficiency bonus, actually. Not
Look
to
at
correct.
that.
Yep, but still a fantastic feature.
Let's see, an additional fighting style at 10th level, superior critical at 15th, and then survivor at 18th. So, basically, champion is kind of your big, brawny, strong fighter who's typically going to be wearing like heavy armor and wielding a cool 2-handed weapon or a weapon in a shield, is how I envision them.
Yeah, and all credit to the champion. It is a very cool, flavorful idea of a character. But I do feel like the barbarian sort of occupies that same space.
Right.
Where their capstone feature, Survivor, if they start their turn with less than half of their total hit points, they regain hit points at the start of their turn, which gives them a lot more survivability. But just imagine, for example, a zealot barbarian, which I think at 14th level, if they drop to 0 hit points, they don't. And then if you're a half orc,
They just don't.
You're like, no, I don't want to.
And then they can do it again if they're a half orc. You can make a better case for a barbarian for this sort of, peerless, just beefy hitting.
And I would have to fully
as
agree with you
possible.
there, because the barbarian already gets reckless attacks, which is giving them advantage on most of their rolls.
Which also increases their chance to
which
crit.
increases their chance to crit.
That's
So
true.
champion fighter, very cool. I do like the idea. Will I ever use it? Probably not.
Unless, I won't use a champion as my full class, but if
I multi-class,
if I am multi-classing, yeah, a champion with a paladin. Yeah,
I was thinking the same thing.
You get to fish for crits, or barbarian even, or champion paladin barbarian, and then you're really fishing for crits. But that'll be disappointing if you don't get any for a whole session.
Or you go, let's see, champion, and then take elven accuracy, and then you become an arcane archer on top of all of those.
No, you can't do arcane archer.
No,
champion.
not and champion.
You idiot.
Or I guess rogue elven accuracy.
Yeah.
I have a silly question because I'm getting build ideas. Is there any kind of restriction on rolling the 18, 19, or 20 for a crit? Like, can you only do it once per turn? Certain weapons you have to use? Melee?
Good question.
Nope.
Or is it just crit, period?
Nothing.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's not that likely. Even 18, 19, or 20 is still just a 15% chance on a D20.
Just a 15%
That's
chance.
a high chance.
Yeah, but that's at 15th level fighter, which at that point, everyone else is, pulling big numbers. The wizard's got, 7th, 8th
No,
level
you're right.
spells.
I think even like
Yeah.
a 19 and 20 is a high chance, though. Because,
Oh, for sure.
like, having a crit can make or break a boss fight, The fact that you can get one 10% of the time, every 10 times I roll the die, I'm going to get it. I mean, that's big.
Yeah, I mean, Morwin would really appreciate that
because
he was known to melt just an entire adult red dragon with a single hit.
No, that didn't happen.
I don't recall this.
But, yeah, you're going to have to, we'll think about that one later. Okay, and the third subclass in the player's handbook is Eldritch Knight. Think of this as like the arcane trickster is to the rogue, the Eldritch Knight is to the fighter. They're the magic users. They're a half caster, and they let you take a dip into spell casting as a fighter. A lot of people will look at this for their first time as like, oh, I kind of want to have a little bit of magic, and they'll say from the get-go like, oh, I'm gonna go Eldritch Knight. But I don't. Have we ever had one? Have we ever had anyone use one?
I have played with an Eldritch Knight, but it wasn't at our table. It was actually, I forget our name for him, Redhead Eric.
Okay.
Yeah.
What did you think?
Well, so it's a little underwhelming for a number of reasons. So the Eldritch Knight is what we call a 1/3 caster versus a...
not a half caster. I see.
Yep. So the Paladin will get an extra spell slot every 2 levels, basically, and that's true for the Ranger and Artificer as well. Whereas the Eldritch Knight and Arcane Trickster as well need to wait 3 levels for 1 increase to their spells.
Yuck.
So at 3rd level, while the wizard has 2nd level spells, the fighter's just getting 2 first level spell slots. And then at 6th level, while the wizard already has 3rd level spells, the fighter's getting their 3rd first level spell slot. Or I'm sorry, it's a little bit more increased than that. But at 6th level, or at 4th level, they get their 3rd first level spell slot. At 6th level, they still only have 3 first level spell slots, which isn't great. So what the Eldritch Knight does well is it does give a lot of options for the fighter. So they specialize in abjuration and evocation spells, and then they can get 1 from any school of magic that they choose. So when you're thinking of an Eldritch Knight, you pick up Shield, you pick up Burning Hands maybe if you want a little bit extra control, at least at early levels. But overall, I don't know. Also, you get a couple cantrips, so like Green Flame Blade or Booming Blade might be helpful, but you can get all that from the Mage Adept feat, or Magic Initiate feat, and then you don't have to waste your subclass on Eldritch Knight.
It's cool that at 7th level I could get Misty Step and teleport behind someone and hit him 6 times, but I don't really want to.
I don't know. I actually really like the class. I've never played it myself. I've run characters that did in one-offs, but to me, you guys were talking about the Battle Master for how cool it is with all the different options and the different types of attacks you could do. Like I think there's a stunning one. There's a one where you can knock people prone. You can disarm people. To me, I feel like it's very much the same sense with the Eldritch Knight, but you just get spells. So that's the flavor. Those are your maneuvers, if you will,
The only thing that I really don't like, the one thing I dislike about it, is how long it takes you to get those things. Like, it's cool that at 3rd level, I'm going to be getting my 2 spells and everything, and I'm going to know 3 spells. But then for the next 3 levels, which could go anywhere from, 10 sessions to 30 sessions that you're in these 3 levels, I'm only going to know 4 spells, and I'm only going to have 3 spell slots. And I just, given that we're, 50-something session or 40-something sessions into our current campaign, like, could you imagine for a majority of that time having to stay stagnant like that?
I feel like you're staying stagnant if you're a caster, though. If you're a fighter,
Right.
you're still beating the crap out of anyone that comes past you.
No,
you know?
no, and that's totally fair. It's just I want my subclass to feel like meaningful in ways. And yeah, while you might not have special abilities for a while in your subclass, I don't know. It just doesn't set right with me. It doesn't feel like the cool half caster I want it to be.
Yeah, and so my one thing that I will say about the Eldritch Knight that I do really like, that unfortunately the Hexblade Warlock or Pact of the Blade Warlock can also do, they do get their weapon bond, which is super cool. So they bond a weapon to themselves, and basically as long as the weapon is on the same plane of existence as you, you can call it, I think, at will. It's
Bonus
not even
action.
Oh, bonus action. But
That's so cool.
But you can call it to you. So imagine you've been, captured by the
You're Noctis from Final Fantasy 15.
Yeah. So that's really cool. My issue with the Eldritch Knight, I think, more than the spells, I think the spells are plenty flavorful. I like the extra options. You always like the extra options. But you're sacrificing your attack action with extra attack, and then at higher levels with extra attack to cast a second level spell.
Right.
Like even at your max level, at 19th level, you get 1 4th level spell.
I feel like I would focus on only reactions and bonus actions because I want my attack action as a fighter to be attacking. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I would focus on, like, okay, I'm going to get Mirror Image or Misty Step or Shield, all of those spells that make me a better fighter, but and maybe give me a little bit more mobility. Maybe take a jump or a long strider.
Yeah, I think overall, if I were to make an Eldritch Knight character, I might take 3 levels or even 5 levels of Eldritch Knight, and then I'd put the rest of it into Wizard, because that's where I'm going to be getting the thing that I really want.
But you know what a really cool, like, arcane fighter is? A ranger.
Oh, heck yeah.
That's true.
Like, I would probably just play ranger and do the same thing. You already get a fighting style. You get a bunch of cooler spells. You can heal. Obviously, they're themed differently. So if you want to play an Eldritch Knight, it's along those same lines. But I'd just play a ranger.
I agree. I think, strangely enough, the Eldritch Knight is very...
Yeah, Blade
very
Singer
niche.
Wizard shits on Eldritch Knight all day long.
Yeah,
Blade
he
Singer
does.
Wizard is insane. I played it for a whole campaign, and I loved it. It was awesome.
Yeah.
I just think it's really cool flavor. I think if you're
Yes.
looking to play an Eldritch Knight, like a strong heroic character with little bits of magic who can run into the fray and cast shield a number of times and never get hit, super cool. Beyond that, I think you need to just play the theme.
Let's talk about this 18th level feature, though, because it's lame. When you use your action to cast a spell, you can make 1 weapon attack as a bonus action.
That's the 18th
It's
one?
broken, isn't it?
Well, I could see this being helpful. So just to play devil's advocate, you do have your action surge, and you do have a ton of extra attacks at that point. So there's definitely a spell that you could be casting. I can't think of it off the top of my head. I mean, maybe Banishment, maybe Polymorph, Haste even.
Yeah.
You haste yourself, you take an attack, and then you get an extra attack, and then you action surge and still have 4 attacks on top of that. That's not
still
bad.
great, but I got 1 extra attack off that.
Yeah.
Like that's my thing. Is like, yeah, but I'm still gonna have the action surge anyways. The 1 extra attack for me casting the spell, I could have just action surged and still gotten almost as many, just -1.
Yeah, I mean, the base fighter should really be spending its actions attacking
Yeah.
more often than not.
I feel like I've been sitting here defending the Eldritch Knight, my boy, and I can't help it here in the capstone. It's not good. It just isn't. It doesn't compare to anything else.
Right, and so if you want a magic fighter, Tasha's really does have you covered. And I suppose we'll jump into those and then circle back around to Xanathar's.
Because Drew can talk on the Xanathar's ones after that because he's a big fan.
Yeah, so we really, really, really like the Tasha's options. Like I was saying earlier, you can play a magic fighter, and especially Just passing the book across the room to Drew.
Don't tell him what I'm doing, Zach.
Yeah, a little trade secret. It's called the secret book toss.
That was
Capstone ability.
Capstone ability, secret book toss. As a bonus action, while speaking, you can hand someone a book.
OP.
And you can only interrupt yourself slightly.
It's a podcast thing. You have to really dive into podcaster.
Anyway, there are these amazing subclasses in Xanathar's, in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. In addition to additional maneuvers and fighting styles, these subclasses really make it hard for me to think about playing any other fighter than these ones because they're just so meaty. I mean, Battlemaster, I still love the flavor more, but it's hard to argue against some of these subclasses. So, Psy Warrior, you get to be a Jedi.
Oh, something I always wanted in D&D, and now you can be it. You literally get force powers. Zach, why don't you tell us about some of those?
Yep. So you get your psionic power, and basically you have a pool of psionic energy dice that you can use to activate certain features. So you get things like your protective field, where you can use your reaction to expend one psionic energy die when you or another creature you can see within 30 feet of you takes damage. And you can reduce the damage taken by that number. You think of it like a force field, basically, that blocks damage. The psionic strike, you can propel your weapons with psionic force. Once on each of your turns, immediately after you hit a target within 30 feet of you with an attack and deal damage to it, you can expend a psionic energy die, rolling it, and dealing force damage to the target. You could definitely think of that like a lightsaber throw, or just a force-empowered slash.
Well, I kind of think of it as imagine a thruster on the back of a hammer as you go to slam it into something. You power your own fists and the weapon itself to fly forward even with your own strength behind it. So sort of like activating a rocket on the back of a car or something like that. You activate your psi power on the back of your sword and just slam it into something.
You know, what you just said to me gives me so much Oswin inspiration.
Right?
I really want him to have a rocket hammer now.
Or little arrows for his crossbow. Like he fires it forward and then halfway through flight they turn on and fire.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
I could have been flavoring my arcane jolt that way this whole time.
Listen, I mean, I'm the ideas guy, you know?
Additionally, their other power that they get at 3rd level, telekinetic movement, which is very powerful. So as an action, you can target one loose object that is large or smaller, or one willing creature other than yourself. And as long as they're within 30 feet of you, you can move them up to 30 feet to an unoccupied space, and there's no height restriction on that. So you can imagine lifting up, and there's no weight restriction either. So you can lift up a large object, think like a friggin' boulder, lift it up and drop it down on someone's head with your action. That's as powerful as the telekinesis spell, and you get that at 3rd level.
No biggie.
The only additional caveat to that is you can't move things that aren't willing, but you can even cause your friends to fly.
That rock is willing.
I mean, imagine your friend's a centaur. They can't climb the ladder. You just climb up to the top and, come with me.
You force pull or force push. Or, literally just carry things with your mind. It's so cool.
Yeah, a lot more powerful than the telekinetic feat, which I have on Gnome and Dawnseeker in our campaign currently. But that's friggin' cool. At 7th level, they get additional features. So the psi-powered leap. As a bonus action, you can propel your body with your mind. You gain a flying speed equal to twice your walking speed until the end of the current turn.
No big deal.
Yeah. You can think of that as a force jump or even, flight for a brief period of time, which is just super cool. And then your telekinetic thrust, when you deal damage to a target with your psionic strike, you can force the target to make a strength saving throw against your DC, which is your proficiency bonus, +8 plus your intelligence modifier. If the save fails, you can knock the target prone or move it up to 10 feet in any direction horizontally.
Yeah. So the Psy Warrior's super cool. I would love to play one at some point. There was a point where we were going to do a little one-off where I really wanted to play a character who he is just a mundane guy. Like, he's a regular dude. All of his power comes from his sword. And the sword would basically take him over and give him psionic powers, to which the sword is the fighter. The character is like the fighter's puppet. And I really wanted to play this character. We still haven't done it, but I've got it ready to go.
Oh yeah, that's right. It was Artan, right?
Yeah, Artan Rosolio.
Yeah. We don't have to go into the perfect details of everything that the Psy Warrior gets, but I do want to talk about their capstone ability, which at 18th level, they can cast the telekinesis spell, requiring no components, and let's see.
I think
you
it
can
says
cast
somewhere
it once per long rest.
Yeah, and I think it says somewhere in there like can catch the Death Star or something like that.
Yeah, I heard something about that.
Yeah, like with your brain. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, can they use? I know with some of their things they can burn psionic points or something like that. Can they burn extra points to cast it again, or is it really only that once per day?
I believe it is telekinesis just once per day, but they can still use their telekinetic movement, which is also an action. But they can use that for as many psi points that they have, which is pretty great. And your psionic energy dice also increase at certain levels. So by 17th level, you'll have a D12 for all of the features there, which is pretty beefy.
I'm gonna be honest. I don't look too much into their abilities, just because if you tell me I can use the Force, I'm gonna play it.
Yeah, I mean, it's really all about like the flavor that I can bring to it. But I mean, yeah, giving you a shit ton of cool Force abilities as a fighter is just adding to how cool you are already. It takes what I like about the Eldritch Knight and makes me like it more. But it also focuses it a little bit. You know, you can't choose Fireball as your spell. You have to go with your mind powers.
Yeah, but it's also cool that they're an intelligence-based fighter,
right.
Just like the Eldritch Knight. So it gives people who don't want to drop their int every single character they play, gives them something to put it towards.
Right.
Additionally, other than the Psy Warrior, of course, Tasha's added the Rune Knight, which is just my favorite subclass that's
so
ever existed.
Insane too.
So they're a giant-themed fighter, basically.
Which is already cool enough because we just played Storm King's Thunder like 2 years ago.
Yeah, and then this bad boy comes out. So they can use giant runes and basically etch it into their armor and clothing, and activate the runes of different types of giants. So the Hill Giant, Stone Giant, Frost Giant, Fire Giant, Cloud Giant, and Storm Giant all have runes that you can activate.
That was good and quick. Like, you did a good job with that.
Yeah,
I'm impressed. I'm impressed.
Well, I only think about giants when I sleep. So I was really prepared for this moment.
Every night you dream of being Morrowind, just like down on his luck.
Yeah, heck yeah. That was my favorite time, was getting hit by a giant axe as a tiny, tiny man.
Really do love that.
Yeah.
Great time.
Some of these runes, I won't go into all of them in detail, but the Hill rune specifically gives you resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage for 1 minute. That's friggin' insane. That's like a barbarian, and you get that. You can use it once per long rest, so not quite as powerful as a rage, but it's getting close. Additionally, as a bonus action, they get their Giant's Might feature, which allows you to get big. And basically, if you're a creature that is smaller than large, you become large along with anything you're wearing. And if you lack the room to become large, your size doesn't change, so you don't have to squeeze in small spaces, which, awesome feature. It gives you advantage on all strength checks and strength saving throws, just like a barbarian's rage. And then on each of your turns, one of your attacks with a weapon or unarmed strike can deal an extra D6 damage on a hit. Additionally, that also increases to a D8 at 10th level. And then at 18th level, it increases to a D10, where also you, rather than becoming large, become huge. So you can become a giant in D&D.
Yeah.
And that's just your class. So at 18th level, you're no different than a storm giant, and honestly, you're a lot more powerful than one.
Yeah, it's so cool. Like, there's so many cool different ways to flavor it. Sean recently was a rune knight in our campaign, and he would take it to another level. He would say, "I want to get big," and then he would get big, and he would rip things to shreds. Like, if you want to imagine, like, what Invincible is to, like, the Marvel comics, that's what Sean was to the rest of the party. He would just go in with a sword, or, well, he would use his glaive. He would go go in with his glaive and shred something to bits and talk about how he's ripping its intestines out or breaking its neck or just bending it over his own knee. Like, it was gruesome. It was cool. And it's all the stuff you want from a cool giant flavored character.
Yeah, and if you want to talk about just very well optimized builds, which this one was, bugbear fighter, Rune Knight, with a glaive, has 15-foot
15-foot
reach. In addition to the fact that you're large, which gives you an even larger area of influence, there was nothing that can move within range of this guy. He also had Polearm Master, so he was just making attacks of opportunity whenever he damn well pleased.
Yeah. It's a well-optimized build, and it's super cool.
I really didn't expect it to be as optimized as it was, to be perfectly honest. I thought it was going to be a little
You're
more
playing with
memey.
Sean, dude. It's always optimized.
It really is, though. I just didn't expect it.
Well, Barrel was not optimized, and that was his our beloved character of his.
But he was powerful.
Yeah, he definitely was. Definitely powerful.
I feel like he was mostly flavor, though. Like, he was just so lovable, and his theming was great, and he was creepy in the same sense. He had his Sturge crawling over us, and it was like, it was just a good character overall.
But, yes, Rune Knight, very cool, giant-themed, carving those runes. And especially if you have any background with giants, if you're playing Storm King's Thunder, or if you just have... I have an affinity for giants after that campaign, so, like, anything to do with them is super cool. Rune Knight, not only is it powerful, but it's got cool flavor, and it's a great fighter subclass for that reason, because while I would say the Battle Master is like the pinnacle of what you can make a really, really good fighter, like someone who's very specialized and good at what they do, the Rune Knight is just like
A powerhouse?
Yeah,
an
friggin'
absolute
juggernaut.
a
Yes.
juggernaut, a powerhouse, exactly.
Which is funny because I think they might be, period, the strongest fighter subclass to have. But if you took it all away, I'd still play them because I think they're just really, really cool.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And they used to be, so all of their rune features, I believe, their DC for any of those features goes off of their Constitution modifier. In the Unearthed Arcana version, it was based off of their intelligence, and I still thought they were fantastic. Like, okay,
Right.
I gotta put a little bit into intelligence, but I get to do all this cool stuff. Honestly, I wish it still was intelligence, because it gives you just a little barrier to, okay, this is the coolest friggin' class, so you need a little bit more stats to
Yeah,
make
but
it
then
work.
Nuth couldn't have been dumb, and I liked that.
Yeah. Well, Nuth was smart. Yeah, he got dumb that one time.
Right.
He got feeble-minded by the sticks. But
Yeah. All right, so Drew, while we've got the chance, we are going pretty long, so I want you to break down what you can about the Xanathar's subclasses and how cool they are.
Well, first off, I'm going to jump right into my personal favorite. I think I've talked about this a few times on the podcast. I do want to play a samurai fighter. They're super, super cool. So imagine you're this fighter, right? If you could hit stuff, cool, whatever. You can use weapons, cool, that's all fine. But bypass the violence. Bypass all that aggression. You could be a graceful fighter.
It's all about honor.
Exactly. It's about the honor of the fight, right? To me, when I think samurai, I think it's just an elegant fighter, a fighter that puts down their enemies with mercy, almost like a fighter monk mix, sort of maybe like a mercy monk. But they actually get some pretty cool abilities. They're a little more of, I would say, the charisma fighter, I guess. They're a little more of like the role play fighter, if you will. Not as much into the combat, but a little more into the game itself.
yeah, I'd even say wisdom. They're definitely focused on, just wait for the perfect moment to strike. And then with my fighting spirit, I unleash 4 attacks, and all of them have advantage.
Yeah, exactly.
Which, that's where that comes in, actually. You get fighting spirit at 3rd level, which is by far, I think, one of the coolest abilities in the game. As a bonus action, you get a certain amount of temporary hit points depending on what level you are. It does scale. It starts off at 5, goes up to 10, I believe 15 at the higher levels. And for the rest of your turn, all of your attacks are just advantage. So imagine you get this multi-attack, right? You get 3 attacks, 4 attacks, you're hasted, whatever it may be. All of them are advantage. That's insane.
And unlike a barbarian who, would be attacking recklessly, you're attacking with precision and grace, and you know exactly where you're trying to plant those hits, which is just such a cool flavor for a character.
It really is. And I know I probably shouldn't, but whenever I think of the samurai fighter, I always think they're wielding a katana. They could be wielding absolutely anything, but I just feel like the katana's the right blade to have just to go with the theme.
You have to have a sword, though. Like, I know you can have a hammer, or you can have a club, but come on, you gotta have a sword, bro. Like,
Well, it has to be at least like a reflavored version, because I think like a naginata as like as a glaive would be a super, or a spear would be a super awesome version of the samurai with a a katana for close range combat, of course.
Oh, okay. So you flavor it like a spear in one hand, like a katana.
I'm really
short sword
racking
in the other.
my brain right now to think of a cool way to flavor like a blunt force weapon like that. That's not just a monk.
Well, they've got that one. And I don't remember the name of it, but it's like the studded club with the, it's a long baseball bat, basically.
Yeah.
I want to say it's a Kenobi, but it
just doesn't feel samurai to me.
Yeah, no. I'll live it with you there. I mean, there are other ways to do a, like a ninja if you want to do, a way of Shadows monk or something.
A samurai fighter that wields like Ebola.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
And they sort of like incapacitate their enemies like by throwing the bola around them. I mean, that's pretty cool.
That could be a reflavored net. Maybe adjust the range of it, but do something else with it.
Say you just threw it perfectly to where you only threw it once, but the bola hit him 4 times. You know what I mean?
Oh, God.
Heck yeah.
Man, I'm still thinking of the blunt weapons, though. I feel like you'd be doing the class such a disservice by using a blunt weapon. I feel like it'd be harder to theme. It'd be less fun somehow.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's so cool in the actual samurai-esqueness of it that I don't want to mess that up at all. Like, the least I would say is you can go to short swords or daggers. Like, that's as low as you can go.
Yeah, and of course it's got to be, if it's a dagger, it's a kukri, and if it's a a short sword, it's tanto or a ninjakin, whatever.
All those fancy words.
Yeah, I'm not big enough a nerd to speak on this with authority.
Nope,
so
that's
please,
why I didn't say any of them.
Yeah, please forgive me for any wrong words that I said.
We've now offended the entire audience.
I'm sorry, audience. Please forgive me.
Speaking of those fancy words, at 7th level you get the ability called Elegant Courtier, or Courtier, or that word's fine. Starting at 7th level, your discipline and attention to detail allow you to excel in social situations. At this point, you can apply your wisdom mod to your persuasion checks. That's super cool. Now, as a fighter, you may not have boosted your charisma super high in this sense. You're probably going for, maybe some constitution, some dexterity, strength, or something like that. But the added wisdom mod on top of that, I think, really does help you get into those cool social situations, Especially since in this specific subclass, you're probably going to have a slightly higher wisdom just to boost that wise samurai vibe,
Yeah, and to its credit, I think the samurai subclass could be applied to a non, Eastern Asian themed character as well. If you just wanted to be, a wizened, you could.
I can only
the
imagine
veteran.
a tabaxi. I don't know why. All I can imagine is a tabaxi walking around with this big sword on his back. And he just readies it at all times. He's ready the second something comes within his range. Just slice it 4 times. He's done.
I could not disagree with you more.
I don't know why. It's like the first thing I think of is a tabaxi.
No, I'm thinking like just an old knight who's like a veteran of combat, who's got very respectful and very knowledgeable of politics and the ways of the world. But when it's time to throw down, he's not going to waste one bit of energy that he doesn't have to, because he's seen a million people fight and he knows exactly where to hit him.
No, and I agree. That's what it should be. But I'm playing D&D. I want my cat to chop you to bits.
No, you don't. No, you don't. There's no reason for that.
Cat's gonna chop you to bits, or a dragonborn. A dragonborn who's
gold
super...
dragonborn.
Yeah, okay, there you go. A gold dragonborn? Come on.
Yeah, all right. I'll level with you on that one. I think that's super cool.
Yeah, so
definitely not tabaxi.
So now let's take off the scales and put some fur on and give him a tail.
No.
Lizard folk? Pretty
Moving
cool.
on, we have Tireless Spirit. So at 10th level, when you roll initiative and have no uses of Fighting Spirit remaining, you gain 1 use. So I believe you only get a few uses of this per day, which it's a pretty strong ability, I say, getting the temporary hit points and advantage on all those strikes. So being able to get that extra 1 if you haven't gotten it back in an extra fight, maybe you're going through an extra long dungeon, you didn't expect to be getting into all those combat encounters.
I mean, this is akin to a lot of other capstones for subclasses. What is it? Like, doesn't Bard get one or something like that too?
Sorcerer, I think they get sorcery points at the start of initiative, something like that.
Yeah, so this happens in a couple other places as well, where like you've run out of your resource or like one of your main resources, and you get it back because why not?
Yeah, why not? Just get it back.
Yeah,
I don't see a
it's
reason.
nice.
Up next, they get Rapid Strike. I don't think it's the strongest ability by any means, but it definitely helps with the flavor and it makes you feel more cool when you say, I want to use Rapid Strike, DM.
Yeah, that sounds really cool. You should say that more often.
Yeah, Rapid
I
Strike.
think we should say it in public too.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
we
for
should go
lots of
say it at
people.
Starbucks tomorrow.
Let's do it. It's a day.
Starbucks not sponsored, Eric.
You know, I know you're taking Drew, but if you ever want to get on Hinge, I think that'd be a great opener.
That would be an amazing opener.
I'd make that like my bio or my profile.
Yeah, I'll help you out with like the setting up the questions and whatnot. That's the perfect thing for your bio though. Is I use Rapid Strike.
No further context.
Nope.
But then the first question is, what's Rapid Strike? And you say, it's the 13th level feature for a samurai fighter in D&D. I can't believe you didn't know that.
Unmatched.
15th level, Zach.
15th level feature for a fighter in D&D. I'm sorry.
Definitely swiping left, Zach. Come on. Really get it right,
And then they
please.
go, "What's D&D?" And you just get them out of there.
Yeah. So, quick description of it. You learn to trade accuracy for swift strikes. If you take the attack action on your turn, you have advantage on an attack roll against one of the targets. You can forego the advantage and make another strike. That's pretty cool.
That is cool.
So talking about those builds of just getting the most strikes possible, that's a good way to do it.
There's another
Get
one.
An extra strike. I like it. But of course, the coolest one, the capstone. It's similar to some, but in the same sense, very, very different and unique in its own sense. So, strength before death. At 18th level, your fighting spirit can delay the grasp of death. If you take damage that reduces you to 0 hit points and doesn't kill you outright, you can use your reaction to delay falling unconscious. Now, you know, Drew, there's a couple classes that could do that. That's right. But it takes it a step further. So, immediately after you delay being unconscious, you can take another turn. Drop the mic.
That's nice.
How cool is that?
That's really cool.
That is really, really cool.
Oh, you just dragon breath all over it? Yeah, I'm going to take my turn now. Thank you. That's I don't think it's any other class.
Done yet.
The only other thing in the
Dan,
entire
I'm gonna pass
game,
my turn to myself. It's my second turn.
the only thing in the entire game of D&D that I can think of that does anything similar to this is 9th level time stop.
Yeah.
That's it. And that gives you a couple turns if you,
It gives
I
you
think if you roll
4.
for
I
it.
think it's 4 turns, right?
Yes, but you can't affect anything else. This extra turn you use as a samurai with 1 million attacks, all possibly at advantage with temporary hit points. Just another turn.
Again.
Again.
Do it again.
Do it again. Everything you just did last turn, again.
And I have to say, this is one of the coolest versions of the you don't die yet features, because as opposed to those others where it's you got hit but you're still alive, it's you got hit and you know you're going down, so you're going down in a blaze of glory. Even if you die, you will kill your enemy.
Oh yeah. Super cool.
It immediately makes me think of those games where as soon as you're low hit points, everything slows down and you get those extra hits.
But I think what they want you to envision is a sword is in you. You know, you just got stabbed all the way through. And in that like last final seconds, you hold it together and you take them out as well. Sort of like you would see in like a samurai movie or like samurai media. You know, they've got that sword. They've just run you through. But you're going, like, they're coming down with you. Like, no matter what.
I do really like that cinematically. I think that would be really, really epic.
Yeah.
I just think it's the best flavored version of this. Like, you know, Death Ward, or, you know, you talk about the barbarians, they can keep on fighting past death and then die afterwards, all that. I think this is the coolest variation.
So the screen cuts to black. It's got a little slice animation on it, and they've appeared on the other side of you. They cut you down. They sheathe their weapon. They start walking away, and then they feel it right in their back as you've gotten back up and stabbed them right through. They fall down to the ground dead, and you fall next to them.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
To play a good samurai fighter, do you have to die in the end of the campaign?
Yes.
I feel like you do.
No, you have to sacrifice yourself somehow in a blaze of glory.
Oh, be the absolute hero of the campaign?
Or if
I
you die,
agree.
you have to commit, or, you know, lose in a fight, but don't die, you have to commit seppuku.
Yeah, you have to fall on your own sword.
Uh-huh.
That would be so sad, though.
Yeah, but it would work. Okay, what else do we have in Xanathars as far as subclasses go? Because I believe the Cavalier is one of them.
Yes, we have 2 more. The Cavalier is all about mounted combat. To be perfectly honest, I think it might be the least cool fighter, potentially, on the
Now,
books.
I wouldn't say
You
least.
monster.
I would not say least cool. I would say maybe least effective.
Nuh-uh. Have you even read what they can do?
Now, all I'm gonna say is mounted combat in general in D&D is not always that great. I'm not gonna say that the Cavalier doesn't get cool abilities for their mount, because I have not read through all of them, because I only know all the magic classes that well. But every time we have had mounts in any D&D game, the mounts inevitably die and you have to get more.
Which is what the Cavalier is good at. Drew, why don't you tell us some of the Cavalier's features and why their mounts can survive a little bit longer?
Absolutely, Zach. Spelled correctly.
With a C only. Everything else is silent.
So, starting off at 3rd level, Born to the Saddle, your mastery as a rider becomes apparent. You have advantage on saving throws made to avoid falling off your mount, which happens all the time because your mounts die.
How's your horse doing in that 5-foot corridor, Drew? Zach,
It's getting there. It's moving along.
I was just thinking about that while you were reading. I was like, yeah, but hallways.
Okay, well, I'm a halfling and my mount is a mule.
But that's the case where it would work.
Now, here's where it gets really good, Seth. Are you ready for this? If you fall off your mount and descend no more than 10 feet, so if you fall up to 9 total feet, we're really getting up there. You can land on your feet if you're not incapacitated.
Oh, so not if you're psychic lanced.
Well, no, not that. Think about how game-breaking this could be. 9 whole feet. You drop down, land on your feet, like a tabaxi.
From your mount.
Yeah, but you're always on your mount because you're a cavalier. Game break.
Okay.
I should specify, you don't have to be mounted to be a Cavalier. They have some good other features, too.
Keep going.
No, you're right.
We're shitting on the Cavalier. It's not bad.
Come on, guys. It's cool.
I do think it's cool. I just think it's ineffective.
It's cool. Yeah. So, finally.
My next D&D character, I've decided now, it's going to be a Cavalier, and it's going to be the coolest one. It's going to be I'm going to be a Cavalier on a Pegasus, and you're going to be sorry
Zach.
When you see me and my flying Pegasus.
And as long as you don't fall more than 10 feet, you'll be the coolest guy in the party,
dude,
man.
And you know what? I'm going to have some flying snakes bite that Pegasus right in the eyes. Like, right in the I can't see anything.
Last little bit of that ability. If you're mounting or dismounting a creature, it costs you only 5 feet of movement rather than half your speed. That's pretty cool.
That's broken.
Yeah, it's
keep going,
pretty OP. Unwavering Mark. So starting at 3rd level, you can menace your foes, foiling their attacks and punishing them for harming others. When you hit a creature with a melee weapon attack, you can mark the creature until the end of your next turn. This effect ends early if you're incapacitated. It kind of feels like a hex, sort of a vibe to it. Honestly, it gives it a little bit of a warlock feel.
And kind of rangery.
Yeah, kind of rangery. If they're within 5 feet, a creature marked by you has disadvantage on any attack roll that doesn't target you. That does include your mount, which is pretty cool.
Which does include your mount. So no one wants to attack anyone besides you. And even if you don't have a mount, your friends can stand next to you, and you're the big target. You've got your shield, and you've got your sword up, and you're like, hey, fuckface, hit me.
And you know
cool.
what? I will say it actually is pretty cool just because you do have so much mobility if you are mounted. So being able to get to any of your teammates and protect them, that's pretty cool.
One thing I argue with that is, even if they have disadvantage, if I have a rabid giant creature coming at you, I'm probably going to have them attack the animal first.
That's true.
Like, even if they have disadvantage, which we experienced in, like, a recent session where you guys were fighting, like, these canine-like creatures, and even though someone had mirror image up, they're just going to keep going for the same guy because that's all they know. There's 3 of them now, more to eat.
That's true. Focus fire, just kind of work around a little bit.
Right.
All right. For the rest of that ability, the hexed creature, if they make a strike on anyone other than you, basically you get like a special attack towards them, which has advantage and gives you extra damage on them. So again, sort of a hex vibe. It does counter a little bit of the focusing fire kind of vibe, I guess.
But you do have to use your reaction on that. I believe that's true. So you're foregoing your attack of opportunity.
That's true. I feel like, I guess as a fighter, you wouldn't have a whole lot of reactions anyway, besides maybe making those attacks of opportunity.
Right. So not a terrible use of it, if I do say so myself.
Up next, probably one of the coolest ones I think that they get is Warding Maneuver. At 7th level, you learn to fend off strikes directed at you, your mount, or other creatures nearby, so getting that support feel from your fighter, which is always cool. If you or a creature you could see within 5 feet of you is hit by an attack, you could deal an extra 1d8 towards... Oh, I'm sorry. Don't even listen. I can't read, guys. Reading is stupid. I play D&D instead.
You have to read a lot to play D&D. I'm sorry to break it to you.
Only 1 to 20, Seth. So you get to roll a d8 as a reaction. Back to our reactions. If you're wielding a melee weapon or a shield. Roll the die and add the number rolled to the target's AC against that attack. Pretty cool. Taking it a step farther, if the attack still hits, the target has resistance against the attack's damage.
Your horse isn't dying anytime soon.
I mean, with 13 health, it will.
Yeah, well, you need a more powerful mount. A friggin' cavalier at 7th level deserves a griffin or something.
Yeah, no, that's true.
I will say, it is really handy that they do get these abilities to protect their mounts. Otherwise, they do sound a little stronger than I had anticipated prior to talking about that.
I knew they were like better mounted combatants. I just am thoroughly of like, I wouldn't play a mounted character because my mount's going to die.
Yeah, well, for
one
most
dragon
of our,
breath and my mount dies.
Yeah, most of our adventures too end up going into dungeons, and then it's like, oh, well, what the fuck do I do?
Well,
with
I think
the horse?
every campaign in Dungeons and Dragons will probably go to some dungeons, and what do you do with your mount then?
Yeah, it really depends on the campaign. I mean, Storm Kings, for example, we probably could have gotten away with, or we did get away with mounts a lot of the time because we were going to giant locations built for big people.
Right. I mean, no, that's very true. So it does depend on like the actual setting or the campaign you're running and like what kind of locale you're going to be going to. Because even then, you guys did end up like delving into some regular dungeons every now and then, not on a frequent basis, but in those locations we did see mounts die.
Yep. Made me sad every time.
I might be too much of a sissy to play this, just because unless you have a special mount granted to you by, Beastmaster Ranger or maybe a strong familiar spell,
Summon Steed,
I'd be too scared to lose my mount, and then I'd feel lonely in this
yeah,
class.
I would say I would want to be able to summon my mount and then take Cavalier.
Yeah, it'd be nice if they had like a special mount feature that they could summon one so many times per day or something like that.
That's
Pretty
true.
handy.
Yeah.
They have a horse call, and they can just call it from anywhere.
Push the up button, and your horse will arrive. Next one you get is Hold the Line at 10th level. If anyone comes up within 5 feet of you while you're...
Hodor, a cavalier.
Spoilers much?
Question mark?
If anyone moves within 5 feet of you while you're mounted, you get an opportunity attack, which is pretty handy. It's kind of like a sentinel vibe, I suppose. And also, if you hit them, their speed becomes 0.
So yeah, Sentinel.
Yeah. Yep. It lets you hold the line. You could hold a line
That's
at 10th
cool.
level. That's
so
cool.
is there a size limitation on that?
It says creatures.
So if the ancient blue dragon runs up to me and I hit it,
You have to bonk him on the head real
it
hard.
has to stay there.
I hold the line.
I stop it with my horse and my spear.
The ancient blue dragon should have thought about that before it flew at me.
It flew at me. It flies overhead and you stop it.
But
This is something we'll talk about on another episode, because this is a feature I think Zach and I have had like very long talks on, is like the Sentinel feat and how you can just stop a huge creature in their tracks as a small creature,
Yeah.
or a tiny fairy. At this point, you could be playing
Yeah.
you could be playing a little tiny fairy and you could stop the ancient blue dragon.
Yeah.
I like the idea you do it with like your shield or maybe your fist if you have the unarmed fighting style, and you just pop it in the nose, and immediately the dragon can't do anything. It can't move anymore.
Oh,
It's
why'd
impossible.
you do that? Ow! Fuck! That really hurt.
I feel so bad for the dragon at that point.
Right?
Poor DM. Up next at 15th level, you get Ferocious Charger. You can run down your foes. At this point, basically, there's a couple other classes or at least races that give you this type of ability. You get a charge. If you move at least 10 feet towards someone and you make an attack, they get to make a strength save, and if they fail, they go prone, which is pretty handy as a fighter up close, I would say. Getting a whole lot of advantage. You can play samurai too, but no
Well,
big deal.
and especially if you're mounted, your mount can take the disengage action, and you can be, running through combat, and, you get that 10-foot lead up for a lot of attacks that you're making. So it does make some good sense to, good synergy if you have the mount, of course.
I always forget the mount gets their own kind of stuff. You know, I always think of the mount as part of me, like it's my ride, you know, but they actually do get
It's
stuff
my
that they can
movement
do.
speed.
Well, yeah, and so when you can use a mount, they can be super helpful because they get their they can take the dash, dodge, or disengage action on your turn. So automatically, you're always disengaging, or you're always dodging, or you're always dashing with massive movement speed at that point. If you're riding anything that isn't a mule, I mean, even mules I think have like 60 feet.
I kind of love the idea of riding a mule as a cavalier. I think
I've
that
always
would be
wanted
awesome.
a mastiff as a gnome.
Yeah, that'd be friggin' sick. Gnome Cavalier, friggin' Sir Gnomington of Gnomengard.
It would make it easier to find a mount if your mount passes. It definitely would.
Passes. I hate that.
Just be a
If he
friggin' person.
passes.
Get on like a cow or something. You know?
No, I'm riding Newth.
I feel like Cavalier gives you the innate ability to ride anything. As long as you can mount it, it could be your
A
mount.
bee. A very big bee.
A really big one.
You could do that as a small creature, I think.
Yeah.
Well, no, I think a large or a giant wasp is probably a medium creature. Shoot.
So
it's
as a small
doable.
creature, can't you?
No, yeah, that's right. Actually, I changed my mind. That's doable, maybe.
Okay, Cavalier a little cooler than I thought. All right. Capstone, Vigilant Defender.
This
Starting
one is good. This one is a great feature. Read
I'm
it
not
off,
waiting
Drew.
this long.
We'll see. We'll see.
I've already stopped playing.
Starting at 18th level, you respond to danger with extraordinary vigilance. In combat, you get a special reaction that you could take once on every creature's turn, except your turn. Interesting. You can use this special reaction only to make an opportunity attack, and you can't use it on the same turn that you take your normal reaction.
So, you get infinite opportunity attacks on top of your extra attack, which is already 4. If you action surge in a round of combat, you can be doing anywhere from 8 to 30 attacks, feasibly, if you're
Yeah.
fighting 30 enemies.
Okay, that's pretty cool. I actually really like that. It's pretty
I want to
flavorful.
see the Cavalier that does this. You know what I mean? Like, I want to see them in real life if they take 30 attacks like that. It's like how they say, if you had a line of 1,000 villagers and they all held their reactions to pass, pass a pole forward, and they all pass it, and it has to be within 6 seconds. It travels faster than a bullet and goes through the mountain. Because they all held the reaction, it traveled thousands of feet. It traveled 5,000 feet in 6 seconds.
It could be done.
No, it couldn't. It couldn't be done.
I really do appreciate the man that sat down and calculated that.
Right.
Just to see if he could do it.
It goes through time, and they throw the ball through time.
I like the idea you tell your DM what you're going to try to do. And he's like, well, I mean, you could certainly try. And you just slap down all the paper and math, the calculations.
We're
you've
summoning
done.
all our allies here. All those tokens and favors we got throughout the campaign, they're happening right now. And
Nice.
you see the ancient white dragon coming down. It's about to fly through, and it's like, all right, everybody, get ready. You've lined up your Gatling gun of a person, of a line of people, and they toss a ball bearing just down the line, all the way to the front, and throw it through the ancient white dragon, and it plummets to its death.
I think if it picks up enough speed, my issue with this is, as a DM, I would make them have to make some sort of check to catch it and keep the momentum going.
It would go through their also, it can't do that. It can't travel 5,000 feet in 6 seconds.
No, it can't.
So
But in D&D rules, it can.
my argument for that, if you're throwing a ball bearing, it's so small. If you throw it at something like a dragon, what if it goes through his foot? You know, or a bit of his wing?
But it's
Not gonna do
traveling
much.
so fast, it would obliterate him.
Well,
But if it's traveling so fast, it would go
D&D,
through.
There is a limit. I know we didn't exercise this limit in a session that we did once, but there is a limit on fall damage. It's 10d6. So at max velocity, fall would do 10d6. I'd probably say the ball bearing would do 10d6 damage.
See, but that's not how velocity and force works, though, because if Quicksilver ran through your city, many buildings would be destroyed just by him running past. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
10d6.
So no. Many buildings would just start collapsing because Quicksilver ran by. So my point is, if the ball bearing goes through faster than the speed of light because 1,000 villagers lined up, the dragon would be obliterated.
Anyway, we got one more subclass to talk about, or actually we have two, but we'll touch on them both briefly. As we've gone.
This is our longest episode by far.
Yeah.
We could breeze through the Arcane Archer because, frankly, I think they're They're definitely one of the more flavorful ones. They're
I
pretty
think
cool.
they're lit. Okay,
They're
I think
pretty lit.
Arcane Archer's pretty cool.
But they're simple. They're
Yes.
simple in the same sense. They're not overly complicated fighters.
You're an archer, and you have magic.
Yeah, you're like Green Arrow or Hawkeye.
So we
Take
won't
your
go
pick.
through every single ability that they have, but yes, you're like Green Arrow, you're Hawkeye. You have a couple of cool abilities. One of them, I believe, is like a seeking arrow.
Oh yeah, you have a seeking arrow. Well, I'm not sure if it's the seeking one. The piercing one though goes right through walls.
Yeah.
It's great. You shoot right. You have X-ray hacks.
Think of it, you're Hawkeye, and you have a ton of cool trick arrows. I find that this is a very fun subclass, especially for beginners because it's easier to understand. So Fighter is already an easy beginner class to play. That you just add on top of that, Arcane Archer is their subclass. Boom, a couple of cool abilities they get to use, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it could definitely be a very good character. Take the sharpshooter feat, take crossbow expert. You'll be doing a lot of good damage. You got your banishing arrow too for shutting down big creatures. It's definitely really good. It's also another intelligence based fighter, I believe. So
That's true.
Something for your intelligence loving
I
players
just got
to
a
do.
great idea for like a steampunk artificer based character again, where like they have a crossbow, but say it's got like 3 different lanes of like the arrows on it, and there's 3 different strings on different layers, and it like loads up the different like liquids and stuff that create the arrows all in one go. They click like a couple of buttons, and it just like loads it up, and you have 3 different arrows ready to go in your cool ass triple chamber crossbow.
Triple chamber
Something
crossbow.
like that exists in Dark Souls. It's called the Avalanche.
Nope, I just made it up.
No, and it's a 3-layer. It's a 3-tiered crossbow, and you fire it once, and it goes bop bop bop, and it goes 3 arrows or
Nope.
3 bolts.
Nope, didn't happen.
So I know we're trying to get through this, but I do want to say one ability. I think the coolest one they have. I will get to it. Curving shot.
Yes.
At 7th
Very
level,
cool.
you learn how to redirect an arrow. Basically, as a bonus action, if you miss, you roll again.
Yep.
I mean, super simple. Again, easy to do. Nothing complicated about it. But you have to roll again.
Yeah, I mean, it's like giving yourself advantage for it, or
Yeah, exactly.
or like giving yourself the lucky feat. So it's a lucky feat for a fighter. Cool, I like it. I think Arcane Archer is cool and flavorful. Not the most powerful, not the least powerful.
Yeah, it's also nice, the curving shot specifically, because rather than doing something like the Rogue's Cunning Action Aim, where you commit to, okay, before I attack, I must give myself advantage, it's after you miss, you decide, oh, well, I'd like to roll again, which frees up your bonus action for, second wind or whatever else you wanted to do.
And it adds fun and flavor to it. Like you could say the arrow split in midair, or you could say like it goes past and it was a trick arrow, so like it redirects them, so where they're like, huh, you idiot, you and they get hit in the back,
Yeah.
So I like it.
I really just like the idea it ricochets off someone's faceplate and just
Oh
bounces
yeah,
into
you aimed
someone
at
else.
the wall and it ding 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 and hits them right in the head.
I meant to do that. That's actually... Oh, that'd be a fun class
That's
to
how I
play.
feel about the lucky feat, though, because I feel like you miss a lot of things and you just get lucky. Like, oh no, I swung at him with my sword and accidentally threw my sword and it bounced off the wall and hit him, and I'm like, oh, and you just grab it back, like, oh, I got lucky.
That'd be a fun character. I mean, at that point, you do have to be a halfling, so you get like their special luck, and they're just like a bumbling idiot character who happens to be very useful in combat.
No, you could be a quarterling though, a halfling. You're a human halfling. You do your own background thing, grab the lucky feat, and then take that racial trait. Boom, you've done it.
Teeny tiny baby man.
Just make them feel like an absolute incompetent dunce, but give them a 20 dexterity.
Yeah,
Just flavor
very
it.
low intelligence.
Yep. But all your shots, you never land them. They're always
wisdom.
like trick shots. They bounce off of things, they hit things, and other things fall on top of people, and the beam collapses. Like making an entire character around just missing his shots. I love that. I think that's great.
He's really good at pulling the trigger, really bad at hitting his shots.
Oh
though.
yeah. I mean, they go down.
Every time. And what's the last subclass?
I
The
don't.
Echo Knight from
we going
Explorer's Guide
fancy.
to Wildmount. So this is technically official material, but you don't have to use it at your table. I feel like the Echo Knight is a very powerful subclass. So at 3rd level, they basically manifest an echo of themselves. They only have 1 hit point and a specified amount of AC. It's 14 plus your proficiency bonus. But basically, it's another version of yourself. And they can, a number of times equal to your Constitution modifier, they can make an attack on your turn when you make an attack. So at 5th level, you've already got 3 extra attacks. That's pretty pretty stinking powerful.
Jeez.
And if you don't know what an echo is as far as D&D lore goes, think of an echo as like an alternate universe you. These actually exist in the game. They talk about it a lot in Fizz bands, if you guys have read through that. But there's a number of times where they talk about alternate versions of dragons and ones that are like coming together and trying to like coagulate themselves into a great worm so they can be super powerful. But yeah, this is taking that idea and putting it into official material and giving it like so your player character can use these echoes. So alternate versions of yourself snap vanish into existence around you, and it's like, all right, guys, let's do this. Like, you don't know each other, but like, let's do it.
Yeah, I almost, if you don't want to do like the multiversal flavor of it, you could think of it like Naruto's shadow clones, except they do damage. That's pretty cool too.
I like the multiversal thing though a lot.
Oh, it's pretty cool. Just as a player, I don't know, like it'd be tough for me to say, all right, DM, so in this part of the universe, this thing exists, and it's really off the wall, and he's also wearing like a tiny wizard hat.
Yeah, but you could easily go into like be like, okay, here's the Eberron version of myself. Okay, he's got steampunk goggles and this really cool sword with gears on it.
That's pretty cool.
See, easy peasy.
Anyway, they get a ton of special features. Their capstone ability, I will read off as that's the coolest one. You can use a bonus action to create 2 echoes with your Manifest Echo feature. So rather than 1, you've got 2 versions of yourself, and they both can make attacks.
Super cool.
And then when you roll initiative and have no uses of your Unleash Incarnation feature, which is the one that lets them attack, you gain 1 use of that feature. Pretty cool.
So I like Fighter. It's not my personal favorite class, but I would love to play one more long-term in the future. I haven't gotten a good taste of the up-close and personal classes as much as I would like. And I do think that especially the ones in Tasha's, or I'd like to play a Jedi at some point, and I would like to play an Echo Knight-esque character at some point, but who knows? Who knows what we'll run into? Guys, final thoughts on Fighters?
Fighters are really cool, and, you know, I never really consider them. I'll say I haven't actually played a fighter. I play a lot of martial characters, but I always lean towards the ones that are half castery, so paladins and rangers. I've played barbarians before. I don't think I've actually ever sat down. No, you know, I did once for one-shot. Bruno, the full orc, he was a fighter, but other than him, no nothing for fighters, but they're super cool, and I think I am going to stick to that. I'm going to be a cavalier next character I make.
Oh, and they're very new player friendly. If you're a new player and you're considering a character, I would say Fighter is a very good starting point.
Oh, absolutely. As a DM, I don't like to force my players to pick a class like, say, yeah, you're stupid, you don't know how to play the game, take Fighter, idiot. But if there's someone who's like, well, this is a lot, I'd like something easy, then Fighter's definitely the right way to go for the first, character or couple sessions at least.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I think they're definitely one of the most starter-friendly characters, period. Same as you guys. I haven't played one long-term. I definitely will. I will be playing that Samurai Fighter. It's going to be awesome. And now that we've talked about fighters, the only thing I can honestly think about is the Echo Knight and having an imaginary friend that followed you into adulthood. That's pretty cool.
That'd be a great flavor of that, too.
Yeah.
Like, it's just an imaginary friend. Or it could be literally anything. It doesn't have to be multiversal, though that's the lore version in the book.
But that's the cool thing about fighters, though. They're simple, effective, and you can flavor them any way you want because they have all the tools in their arsenal to use.
Yep.
Well put. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining us in this longer episode of Table Talk Friday. We'll be back here next week with something to talk about. We haven't chosen that yet, but we will soon. If you'd like to hit us up at tabletalkfriday@gmail.com. Let us know your questions, your comments, your concerns. Hit us up with some D&D stories, your favorite fighter that you've ever played, and we will catch you back here next time. Fighter, character, someone with a sword, take us out.
Take you out? I'm gonna fight you instead. Arr, arr, I'm a fighter.
Thank you for listening to Table Talk Friday, a D&D podcast. For more fun conversations like this, follow the boys on whatever podcast service you prefer, and come back every Friday for another upload. And if you have your own inquiries, You can find them at tabletalkfriday@gmail.com. Thank you.